Hi, and welcome back to Living Legacy. I'm your host, Marion Skeete, and we have been in a discussion for a while about some serious, exciting topics about what does it really mean to be a Christian. I'm talking about a real, authentic Christian. Are there any left? And so we decided to actually go around our community and find some people to see if they're really Christians. And we chose people in a diverse group, obviously, but also people in their 20s and 30s, because we believe they're helping to define or destroy the faith. We didn't tell them that, but they were just discovering that they might be actually being accused of that. But no, really, are they living out the faith? Obviously, it's changed from 2,000 years ago, but is this real? Is this live? And we're talking about some exciting topics. And the next topic we want to talk about is stress, okay? Whether you're Christian or you're non-Christian, you deal with the issue of stress. My view as a Christian is that we were supposed to be originally just garden dressers. And once we got to eating meat and creation turned against us, then we had this whole idea of stress, right? Would you say that?
Well, when you start going against eating meat, you're going to Midland now.
So. Yeah, that's true. And wearing clothes, right? You know, but that's another subject. But we were not supposed to deal with the level of stress and we are dealing with as creation sort of turns in on itself. So, but what is Christianity really? Okay, what is Christianity? How does Christianity really speak to this idea of stress? And we see more and more that Christians are stressed out, just like non-Christians are stressed out. Are we supposed to not be stressed out, first of all? Okay, and when we are stressed out, how could we get unstressed out? And why are so less of us not getting unstressed? It could be just my biased opinion, but let's talk about this whole issue of stress, though, in Christians' lives. What are you dealing with, and how do you deal with this whole notion of stress?
Well, I think stress, if you really think about it, it's because you're not meeting a timeline or you need to hit certain goals at a certain point. I think not Christianity, but when you think of God in the timeline of His, there is no real timeline for Him. Wow. So when you consider the things like, I have to get my work done. Well, yeah, you do have to get your work done. Yeah. But ultimately, okay, so you get written up. I mean, not that that's a good thing, but at the same time, that might actually be a very bad thing. But at the same time, that's insignificant compared to a life journey. When you consider little points in however long you live, maybe 100 years, 70 years, you think of that one part. I think of this time. I actually public speak, but I remember the very first time I public spoke at a high school competition, and I remember the lectern right in front of me, and I pounded it and said, "Courage, courage is," and then I put my head down on the lectern for the next 2 minutes. Because I was stressing out, I had no idea what to say.
Oh my goodness! I thought you were bringing out a point or something.
Yeah, but the point being was, I look back and I laugh at it because it was a point in time in my life. But at that moment, I was thinking that was everything about my life. And yet, if we think about stress, that's what you should really think about, is that God has a life for you rather than a point in time. Yes. And when you consider those type of things, it makes things less
stressful. But don't you think we live in a society that really tells us that there are deadlines? And I think stress has, of course, gone up with the economy being the way it is. I mean, isn't there some realities about life that we do have to meet certain goals and so do certain things? I think it's hard to kind of pull yourself. That's an excellent point you made. It's sort of sometimes hard to pull yourself away from the deadlines of being a mom or being a student or taking care of a nonprofit and all the things that you're involved in.
I think the pace of life is just exponentially. The information superhighway has helped and hurt us in a lot of ways. But and just what you were sharing, it's really about, I was thinking just the word perspective. Yeah. That there are those moments when the Bible talks about Sabbath rest that we have available to us to enter into, but it's just simply in those moments when I've got a deadline that's here and I've got resources that are here, and then there's this gap,
There's this huge gap. Now you make me think about this whole idea of Christians and psychology and therapy. And I know some of you have been involved in that. You do that. You help people. A lot of Christians will say that Christians are not supposed to get involved in therapy to the extent of medication and various kinds of therapy, because Christians are supposed to live this sort of stress-free life if they obey and do some of the principles that you're saying. What do you think then of the therapy and the things? Are we saying that we're actually being out of the will of God or the purpose of God when we do that? What is that about?
We have a therapist on the panel. We have a therapist.
We have a
on the panel.
therapist. Okay, Rashida.
I think.
Does it feel like you're being pressured here?
A little bit. I think, like someone said in the last panel, that we are individuals who are in Christ, but we also experience a lot of the same things that people who are not believers experience. We experience brokenness, we experience relationships, that might cause hurt or harm. And because we live in this body that God has given us, in this world that God has given us, sometimes we need help, to deal with those things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in the context of therapy. It could be in the context of a pastoral relationship or a family relationship. But if it does happen to be in the context of a therapy relationship, then there are some benefits that can come from that as well. And I don't think that we as a subculture should condemn those who do seek mental health services to get through different aspects of life.
Absolutely, because we are still human.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we're still human. Wow, and this really is what this is about. These talks and these topics where we're talking about what it is to really be human and to be Christian as we live out our humanity, and yet in a godly way, in a way that really pleases God. And we're hitting some really, really deep subjects, and I thank you. We have one more exciting topic coming up, so we want you to stay with us. This is Living Legacy.